Well, gang, Carolina Jackpot coming at you. It's Friday morning. So yesterday, Carolina Jackpot picked up the first preseason college football magazine to hit the shelves, the Athlon edition, which always seems to get out first every year. They have the Athlon, the Streets and Smiths. They have, of course, Phil Steele, who doesn't come out until later on in the summer, maybe around July-ish, I think. That's my favorite one. That one breaks down stuff a lot more in depth, numbers-wise. If you're smart enough to read and be able to analyze the numbers, some of us are. Some college football fans, that's Greek to them. Last year, his didn't come out till later, and it's like most years, I'm thumbing through that one so much to the point that by October, you know how a book is when you read it like 15 times because it's such a good book that the spine is all backwards and curvy, and the pages are falling out of it, and you got to take different pages and put them back in the book, and sometimes you don't even get them in the right order, and you've spilled beverage on there, you got a little bit of ravioli smear stain on the page, you know, stuff like that. This past year, not so much. I didn't refer to it as much because everything was like you could just throw it out the window. And I don't even think he was able to get the best research possible there because there was no preseason last year. There was no spring practice for him to look at, which he bases a lot of things on. Anyway, getting into what I was going to talk about, the SEC East, looking at it just on paper, according to Athlon, they have Georgia, of course, atop, winning the East. Surprise, surprise there, right? At 11-2. They have Florida finishing up 9-3. Missouri 8-4. They have Kentucky 7-5. Tennessee 6-6. 2-6 in conference, which they have them, I guess, beating Pittsburgh in the non-con. Disclaimer: I don't think that's going to happen. South Carolina finishing up at 5-7 with 2 SEC wins. And then Vanderbilt finishing up with, I don't know, an 0-8 in the SEC, and I think 2-10 overall. And I just look at this, and I'm like, has the gap between number one and the rest of the field ever been any wider? I mean, going into this year. And believe you me, I mean, I hate Georgia as much as anybody does. I mean, I can't stand them. Them and Clemson, they run just neck and neck. I mean, just like they're two hillbilly fan bases, and that tree never really branched out too far. That's why they're always fighting amongst each other. It pains me to have to pick a side in that game this year, but I can't cheer for Georgia, so I'm just not going to do it. But I mean, you can't deny the fact that I know in the defensive backfield they've lost a lot, and they're going to have to replace people there. But I mean, they have their running back core. They rank each position group on each SEC team. They have their running back room. You know, I hate that term. Their room ranked, I think it's either second or third in the SEC. With the Gamecocks, it's like fourth. But we have the SEC's returning leading rusher and a 5-star who hasn't seen the field yet. But they still got them ranked above us. Which, you know, I think it's horseshit, but a lot of that, it's not when you look at the ranking of the offensive line, and Georgia's so much higher, and, you know, a good offensive line with that push, you know, makes your running back room look better. And I think therein lies the problem with us. Just looking at the order of finish, I could kind of buy it. I could kind of buy it, I guess. But, I mean, honestly, after you have Georgia on top here, and after that, this could kind of honestly turn into an ACC coastal type situation, because we like to make fun every year, especially over on the old Uncle Blue channel, talks about the ACC teams besides Clemson, a lot of them just being the same team with different helmets. And that's kind of true. And looking at these teams, at Missouri, they have it 8-4. I don't think this is an 8-4 team. I just don't. The loss of Larry Roundtree, the third running back, lost Nick Bolton over on the defensive side of the football. You know, you look at them down the stretch last year. Yeah, they won some games, you know, but you look at them down the stretch, and they weren't that impressive. my Gamecock team was an absolute shit show. Had just fired Will Muschamp, and all they could do was manage a 17-10 victory over the Gamecocks, which they almost let us damn come back and beat them, and quite frankly should have. They went on the road to play at Florida. Halloween weekend was supposed to be a big game. They just totally crapped the bed. Lost by like 30 points. Terrible. They beat Arkansas, who was not a good team, by like 1 point, I think, at home when they were favored. So I'm not totally sold on them. I do like the quarterback they have there. Connor Bazelak, I think is his name. And has, a so-so mix of receivers to throw to. Nothing flashy. They do return Tyler Beatty at running back, who was like the backup last year to Larry Roundtree. So, along the lines of scrimmage, they'll be okay. An 8-win team, though, I'm not sure. Not sure about that. Kentucky, a 7-win team. Kentucky, I think, is a team that is trending backwards a little bit. And to be quite honest with you, I think the national media is now just predisposed to picking them to have a good year because they don't want to be proven wrong again. Without really taking a look at all the nuts and bolts. I mean, the nuts and bolts, the meat and potatoes. Who's going to play quarterback for them? And they've had problems at the quarterback position for years. And this time you have Joey Gatewood, the guy from Auburn, who played some last year, wasn't the answer, and then two guys that nobody's ever heard of. So, that could be problematic. They return in, I think it's Christopher Rodriguez, like the fourth or fifth best leading rusher in the SEC. And whatever. He rushed for 100-something yards against the Gamecocks last year. In the last game of the season, when the Gamecocks had obviously given up and half the team was gone, check the stats from the year before. I think he had like 10 yards rushing. Did score a touchdown, though. So he's okay. Wide receiver-wise, pretty weak. And they're getting, looks to me, to be weaker along the lines of scrimmage than they have been in the past. So that could be a problem for them. 7 wins may be a possibility. I don't know. But I just don't think that team's that good. Tennessee, another one. They have them at 6-6 and 2-6 in the conference. So they haven't won all their non-conference games. I don't think they're beating Pittsburgh at home. I just think Pittsburgh's a better, more experienced team, better defensively, and that's early in the season. Still getting your sea legs under you. And, I mean, you just look at what's happened over the course of the past, 7 months up there. I mean, it's just been one debacle after another. It's just been the laughing stock of college football for the, Jeremy Pruitt and staff, handing recruits cash out in McDonald's bags to the athletic director, openly lying about the coaching search, that he only interviewed one man, and it's just starting off on the wrong foot. They had more players to hit the transfer portal than they brought in with the 2021 recruiting class. So, I don't see how you can really expect them to have a successful season. 2 SEC wins, I guess, is not out of the question. I could see them beating Vanderbilt and then someone else from the mix, but anything above that, probably not. I would peg them more of a 4 or 5 win team. The Gamecocks at 5 wins. This is probably about right. It's probably about right. You got 3 non-conference games there that are wins. Eastern Illinois, East Carolina, and Clemson. I'm just kidding. East Carolina, Eastern Illinois, and Troy, which should be wins. They should get the annual win against Vanderbilt. They haven't lost to Vanderbilt since George W. Bush was in office. Let that sink in. Georgia just lost to them about 4 years ago. Other than that, I mean, it's kind of hard to try to pick where that next win is going to come from in the SEC. You've got Texas A&M from the West. It's going to be a tough one. Probably not. You're not going to beat Georgia. Beating Florida is a possibility. This is a team, I didn't even touch on them yet, that I'll get to in a second. Beating them is a possibility. That it's a home game. Winning at home against Kentucky, should they be able to do it? Yes. Will they be able to do it? I don't know. It's a big, huge question mark. They've had bad history with them the past 6-7 years. But the thing about Beamer is he's instilling, you've got to like the fact that this guy is flipping the culture. You got to like that. The guy's saying all the right things. He's brought in some coordinators and assistant coaches who have some experience, some of a minimal experience at that particular position or that particular job, but guys who are hungry and looking to prove themselves. The offensive line coach, Greg Atkins, brings a solid resume, as does Torian Gray. Defensive back coach, the defense coordinator, Clayton White, is experienced at the non-Power 5 level. Has done a lot of good things, had some really nice stats the past few years. We'll see where that goes. I think Marcus Satterfield is a good up-and-comer at offensive coordinator. I'm not going to call him young because he's really about the same age as I am, but I guess he's just getting started with it a little bit later than what, you would think. When you look at Lincoln Riley, he hasn't even hit 40 years old yet. And he's been a head coach at Oklahoma for 4 or 5 years now. So there's a lot of missing pieces on the back seven of the defense at South Carolina that's going to have to be filled through recruiting. You can't do it all through the transfer portal. It's going to have to be filled through recruiting, and it's going to take 2 or 3 recruiting cycles to build this back up. It just really is. They're going to have to be patient with Coach Beamer. And I know that every Gamecock fan's tired of hearing that. Well, you got to be patient. Well, you should say that about Muschamp, Carolina Jackpot. Well, it's true. Muschamp was obviously sold us a bill of goods. He obviously wasn't what we thought he was going to be. I gave him every chance, but until I couldn't give him any more. Offensively, I think South Carolina will be okay if Luke Doty can at least be, more serviceable at quarterback than what he was last year. And the action that he saw, he looked kind of scared to me. He didn't look very poised. And he was playing behind an offensive line last year that, quite frankly, is a little bit more experienced than what we're going to have this year. So those pieces need to fit together. But like I said, Greg Atkins, new offensive line coach, comes with a solid resume. Hopefully he can get these guys to gel together and quickly, because he's going to need to. I think running back will be the strength of the team. I think you'll see a lot of RPOs from the Gamecocks. Receiver-wise, there's some talent there. There's some pieces there that are talented. I really want to see Dak Joyner have some kind of really solid breakout year for South Carolina. He's been there since 2018. He hasn't taken advantage of the opportunities that he's been given, albeit he just hasn't had that many opportunities. But the guy still has a positive attitude. He still sticks around, an excellent athlete, and I'm looking to see what he can do. Got a 6'8" wide receiver named E.J. Jenkins, who came from St. Francis, Pennsylvania. And that guy, if he gets his body right and he's fast enough to outrun some of these defensive backs, he's damn sure going to be tall enough to out-jump them. There's not going to be a problem there. He could be a problem in these streets. So we'll see what goes on with that. But 5 wins is probably about right. I think they beat Vanderbilt. I think they win a game there from, I would say, probably between Tennessee and Kentucky. I don't think they win on the road at Missouri. I think Auburn on the road it's a home game against Auburn late in the year. I think that they may be a little bit better than what people are giving them credit for, although I hate to say it. So I think that one's probably going to be a loss. If I had to, if it was gun to head for me right now, I'd probably have to chalk that one up as an L for the Gamecocks. And then we moved to Florida, which I moved back to Florida. Didn't ever talk about it. 9-3. de facto 9-3. I think they just kind of put them at that because they just automatically assume it's Florida. They're going to be right behind Georgia. I'm not sure. I don't know that Missouri might not be better than them, even though I don't think Missouri's that great. Florida has lost a lot. They have lost a lot from last year's team, probably the most of any team in the country. I mean, you lost probably the second best quarterback in the SEC in Kyle Trask. You lost the SEC's best tight end that they've seen, and probably one of the best tight ends in history in the SEC, to be honest with you, in Kyle Pitts. I mean, all things considered, he was just a phenomenal player, dynamic skill set there. Kadarius Toney, I think they lost him. I'm not sure. At wide receiver, they lost a bunch though, and defensively, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they're never, a team that's going to play lights out on the defensive side of the football. And you got some significant losses over there as well. Running back hadn't been one of your strengths in past years. Don't expect that to change. Yeah, you may be a 9-win team, but I don't necessarily know that you're going to be a very good team. And I think that battle between you and Missouri is probably going to be a lot closer than you would like it to be. And then you have Vanderbilt down at the bottom, which, I mean, a new coach coming in has absolutely almost zero skill talent coming in. They did recruit better than South Carolina in the 2021 class, which is embarrassing. Clark Lee, they bring in as head coach, a former Vanderbilt player, which makes no sense to me, and I've said this before. Derek Mason was a defensive coordinator, head coach, a defensive-minded coach who could not win at Vanderbilt. And this guy, I mean, he had more passion, desire. He had the attitude for the game, more so than any coach that I've seen. You could just see the passion just come through in the guy's interviews. And, I mean, he lost his job because he couldn't win football games at Vanderbilt. So I really don't know what makes you think that another defensive-minded coach is you're going to win any games with him either. I mean, I don't see it. I mean, it just seems to be the circle of suck. Vanderbilt this is an offensive age of football, and Vanderbilt needs to do something to differentiate themselves from the rest of the SEC. Well, not so much as far as, which side of the ball they're going to focus on, but, how they're going to focus on it. Because it's an offensive age of football. You have to be able to score points. It just doesn't seem like they're that concerned with that. So that's just a look at the magazine and a look at my, our little analysis of the SEC East and where we're at. I think it's Georgia's to lose. I mean, I think that the gap is wider this year than it's been in quite some time. And, quarterback, wide receiver room, all those skill positions, get the defensive backfield fixed, and Georgia's going to be strong as hell again. And unfortunately, I mean, that's just the way it is. Until some of us step up and start recruiting better and start winning some of the recruiting battles against them, they're going to be on top for a while, and it's going to take a hell of an effort to knock them off. That's my little analysis on it, guys. SEC East for 2021. I'll see y'all later. Peace. I'm out. Go Gamecocks, and go Coach Bema. Woo!